Hey traders, and welcome to this year's very first weekly market setups. Today we're going to be taking a look at some of the trades and ideas that I am looking at going into this very first week of trading here in 2023. Real quick, I just want to wish everybody a happy new year. I hope you guys had some great celebrations during the holidays, spent some time with family, and are ready to get back on the charts with a fresh look going into the new year. I've got a lot of stuff to unpack here, so we're going to go ahead and jump right in. So first thing I want to talk about is the dollar going into 2022. What we saw is last year, big break to the downside, right? Or I'm sorry, we had a huge run to the upside, followed by a breakout towards the back half of the year where the dollar really kind of fell apart. I'm looking for this dollar move to continue to the downside until proven otherwise. It seems like we've lost that upward trend. And so for me, looking at the dollar, I am mostly on the bearish side of things. As CPI has peaked in the US, at least back in June it has so far, it continues to be sort of a negative catalyst to the dollar, where we lost that, they're going to raise rates until we can't see straight kind of thing, right? We've sort of lost that speed, and the dollar fundamentally has sort of lost its luster, if you will. For me, I'm watching this in reference to a couple different currency crosses as well as gold. Let's take a look at EURUSD, which I pulled this one up at the very start of the video. But the euro dollar breaking through the highs here and putting in these higher lows, nice upward trend. And this is the 4-hour chart. Again, if we go to the daily chart, we can see the downward trend was in complete play here for a while and broke bullish towards the end November and December here of 2022. So now going into this year, again, we focus here mostly on the channel on reacting to what price is doing, not necessarily trying to predict. So for me, we are reacting to this upward trend by being primarily not against it, right? Looking more to be on the side of continuation. You had this beautiful breakout and pullback here to a previous level of resistance, now potentially turned to support. So I think starting out, the euro looks like it has a healthy start to the year ahead of it. We'll see how things play out, of course. But generally speaking, I think longs in this area don't look terrible in my personal opinion, as long as we don't start breaking structure down to the other side. Now, of course, if it does break out, we're going to completely take a small loss and we're going to look to continue in this downward direction potentially. But if things are actually able to catch a rise here, there's probably some good risk to reward. In fact, I actually took EURGBP, going off the euro, took the EURGBP long here as my last trade of 2022. This one I actually even like more than the euro against the US dollar. And you can see this thing on the 4-hour chart. If I zoom in a little bit, what I identified was this swing low to the swing high. We got these 3 levels, and I picked it up at the 38.2 with a stop loss below the 61.8 and closed out a nice profit there. And you can see I'm on a real account. I'm not faking anything like that. It is a trade that I took it here, closed out here, nothing crazy, but I am looking for EURGBP to potentially set up for another break and retest going into the new year. I'll show you guys a trade now that I'm actually in myself. We'll pull up SPX500. I'm currently long in the S&P 500 for a potential New Year's rally. Now this one is a pretty simple, this was actually taken on the lower time frames, and I'll show you guys, I'll show you my profit and loss here just so you can see it. So when I trade the S&P 500, I trade it on the stock market. So here is SPY, and I'm up $1,300 on this trade. As long as this one holds support, I will be willing to hold it. But if this thing breaks out to the upside, I'm sorry, to the downside, if we fail at this level here around 37 to 80, or 3780, if we break that level, I've got a stop loss that I plan on executing there. So that's where I'm currently at. I shared that inside of the Discord channel, by the way. If you're not already inside of the Discord, we do have a Discord available. Let me show you what that looks like. So I share all of my trades in here. There's my S&P 500 trade fully broken down. What we do here is when I take a trade, I break down the full analysis as to why the trade was taken. I share screenshots, so on and so forth. If you're not already in the group, you can get access to my trade alerts, Frank's trade alerts, Ivan's trade alerts. We have chat rooms available, educational material, and so much more. Especially as we go into the new year, it is a great time to grab access to that. So if you're interested in that, if that's something you'd be willing to try out here or jump into, you can join our community, get involved, real trades, real track records, no nonsense. Come join us, get in on the action here in 2023. It's going to be a great year. and I'm looking forward to trading with a lot of you guys. So again, take advantage of that. If you're not already inside of the Discord, the link is down below in the description. Punch in that promo code and you'll get access for a cheaper rate. So take advantage of that today. All right, so the S&P 500, that's a trade that I am in. Looking to see if we can continue to break out higher. If we don't, like I said, pretty quickly going to be out of this trade. I don't love the way structure's looking right now, but I'm just holding it with the idea, I'm going to move stops to break even here on the start of the year and let this thing try and run. See if we get a New Year's rally, which is sometimes present in markets. So we'll take a look at that, and then let's see, what else can we do? We can also take a look at the pound here, which, taking a look at the pound US dollar also sort of, in my view here, looking off the daily chart, sort of lost a bit of its speed. And the euro, in my opinion, is the favorite of the two right now. In fact, if I actually go look at the euro pound, this is why I took the recent trade that I did on EURGBP. This is the Edge Finder. If you're not already familiar, this is a software tool that my team has built for analyzing markets. And what we look at is EURGBP. We get a +3, and this is just taking all these different categories, tallying them up, and giving us an overall score as to whether or not this asset is a buy or sell. Now, I took this in December, which had positive seasonality, so that got +1 in this, so it actually had a +5 when I took it. We've backed off a little bit, but overall, the euro pound takes into account all these different factors. For example, a big one is the commitment of traders data. And looking at the COT data, what we see is that GBP, the pound, has a very high relative short ratio compared to the euro. The euro has 70% of its positions on the futures market from non-commercial traders on the long side. So that's a big bullish catalyst there for the euro over the GBP. So I was actually primarily looking to get long due to that and a couple other factors here. But that was part of the reason I took the trade. And I think actually maybe this is a good time just to real quick take a look at the smart money tracker. If you're not already using the Edge Finder, again, this will also be linked down below in the description. I'll tell you how you can get access in just a moment. But here is your smart money tracker, and this is your first scan going into the new year. It might be informative information for you guys. What we're looking at here is basically the COT data on all of the major assets that we track. So you have oil in here, you have gold, the euro, the dollar, the New Zealand dollar, right? You have all different assets. And what we've got here is, if we look on the most far left extreme, this is going to show you your most bullish. In fact, you know what? I think these should be flipped. In fact, let's do that literally on camera here. I think I can do that pretty quickly. Let me do, let me see. 1 second, I'll come back right after this. And we're back. Sorry about that. I was just editing. I wanted to actually make this the other way. I don't know what I was thinking when I designed that, but I just made it so that it was the opposite. So the most bullish things are on the far right, and the most bearish things are on the far left, which only makes sense considering this would be the most negative, this would be the most positive. But anyways, what you're looking at here, this is the Edge Finder. This is our market scanning software that my team has been working on relentlessly for the last half a year, really. But this is basically showing us all the pulled in data on the major assets. So if we take a look at gold, for example, gold has a relatively high interest from the hedge funds and institutional traders that are trading on the futures market here. So what you've got is a 71% of those trades are on the long side. Then you take a look on the other side of the room as we get started here in 2023. You've got JPY, AUD, CHF, CAD. These are the top 4 most sold assets on the list. And then there's your top 4. The euro making its way into that list as well. Euro actually topping out over the dollar. A very, very interesting little exchange there, as the dollar for so long was like the #1 asset on the list. So it's very interesting to see the dollar sort of backed off a lot, and the euro making a tremendous rise on the COT data. So if you don't already have this as the smart money tracker, you just head right here. If you don't have the Edge Finder, grab access to it. It is something that my team has been working on for several months. It is a software tool. My company A1 Trading, we build software tools for traders. So if you want access to that, link is down below in the description. Use code YTVIP. It'll get you a discount off of the product if it's something you're interested in using as you get into the new year. Using software like that has been a game changer for me. That's why we invested so much time and money into it. I use it for my own trading, and of course the company also sells it. So check it out. All right, gold here. Another one to watch going into the new year. And let's take a close look here at gold. So gold has actually flipped things around. It's actually turned into a pretty bullish market recently. And in fact, if we look at like the 1 hour chart, you can see we've had several instances where we were breaking out higher. In fact, we are breaking out higher as we speak on the 1 hour chart and trying to essentially get above this 1820 mark. I would say that there's probably a good shot you get another chance to go long here at a continuation point. So if price pulls back, looking for continuation on gold going into the new year is what I am primarily looking to do. And again, this is also off of that US dollar concept. And I want to show you guys something. If we go look at the inflation report here, this is what I'm talking about when I say inflation potentially peaking, right? So if I go zoom in way far here and I isolate this to the US dollar, I guess we could look at a lot of them first. You have lots of different, let's see if I can get a little closer even. If I'm looking at inflation here, what we'll notice is that some places, like for example, in orange here, you've got the GBP, it continues to spike higher. But in most places, we've actually seen inflation starting to taper off or curb. And if we isolate it to the US dollar here, and again, for those of you who already have the Edge Finder, it is under fundamental analysis. I'm just under the inflation tab. You can see in the data that inflation has actually curved since June of this year, of 2022, last year. And so with that curbing, that has potential to continue to give way to a bullish, bearish US dollar, bullish gold market. And that's something I think is worth paying attention to as we start a new year. There's potentially that continuation of that trend that has started here. And so what I'd be looking for is breaks, retests, and continuation plays on the gold market. That would be my opinion on this asset. So until further notice, gold structurally looks bullish. Now I want to turn my attention just to the watch list here for a second off the Edge Finder. What I can do here is if I go to the bias and I take out the neutral readings, that's where I'm going to get things that are most interesting to me. And so this is really simple, this watch list page. And again, I just want to say I'm not trying to overly showcase the Edge Finder today. I am genuinely, this is where I do my analysis. Sometimes people ask, they're like, Nick, why are you just always using the Edge Finder? Well, it's because I genuinely use what we sell. So what I'm doing here is I'm looking at the watch list and I just can take out all the neutrals, and the neutrals are just going to be things that I just don't really have enough bias. And again, when I say neutral, that means that their score is between 2 and -2. That means they just don't have a strong reading in one direction. So for example, if I'm looking at USD CHF, right? This is a -2. It has some things that are more pointing bearish, but it also has some bullish signals in there. So it's getting mixed readings. But if we take a look and we isolate things out and we go here, now you're going to get a list of things that are just straight up bullish or bearish. And in fact, I think this is kind of interesting. A lot of the pound pairs coming in as very sell heavy assets. And we could go take a look at GBPJPY here as one of the sell setups and look at this. So this is, I'm glad that the chart was pulled up for this one, because this is actually a really great example. So the pound against the Japanese yen has everything that I'm looking for in a sell trade. And I'll break that down. First of all, we'll look at the technicals. So technicals are sort of not necessarily what the Edge Finder does. The Edge Finder is more of a sentiment indicator as well as a study on fundamentals. So we use that for that component of the trading. But then when it comes to the actual charting, I love things like GJ, which are moving clearly in one direction. You can see this thing is respecting trends beautifully, pulled back to the 38.2 and dropped even past the lows, printing a new low. That is exactly what we're looking for from a technical analysis perspective to be primarily short on. So when we zoom in here, we say, okay, going into New Year's, if we get some pullback on this, we could potentially take that trade again, and we could look for something like a retest, a break and retest on the downside, right? So if I'm looking at GJ here at the 38.2, I could probably put my stop. The 61.8 is 137 pips away, so you might be able to tighten it a little bit. You might be able to just say, okay, well, I want to leave the 50% in there. That's a 76 pip stop loss, which is a little bit more reasonable for swing trading. And so if I'm looking at this thing and I'm saying, okay, if things do pull back, what do I have here? Well, I've got a downtrend on the technicals that look real good, right? You've got a broken level of support, a retest to that 38.2, things look good here for possible short continuation. And then if I look at the edge finder and we actually go look at GJ, so we have a sell on the market watch list or the overall watch list, but let's actually go look at the actual cross here. And I can just go down here to GBPJPY and we can pull this one up. So -5, that means that most things here are agreeing that this is more of a sell component. And let's walk it through. So in terms of COT data, this doesn't get too much of a bias, but if anything, the yen, the pound slightly outbids the yen, but it's still, neither of them are super long, heavy assets by institutional traders. Retail sentiment, though, this is an interesting one. The crowd is very long on GBPJPY. So that's a red flag, because if we know the crowd's long, that means, okay, all the retail traders are piled into a long trade. Let's probably not do the exact same thing as the retail traders. Let's actually be more on the short side. So we get negative on that category. If we take a look at seasonality, the month of January, which is the month we just started, is negative, meaning that historically this month tends to be a negative month for the pound yen. Well, trend reading, nice downward trend, pretty clear to see that one. GDP growth, inflation, and unemployment in the fundamental categories favor the yen, right? Favor shorting the pound, going long the yen, and then interest rates are higher in the UK, so that is going towards the pound. So overall, we get -5. That's a strong enough bias, in my opinion, to go ahead and look for potential shorts, and then the technicals lined up. So this would be a proper setup for me. So I hope you guys can see how I do that. With the Edge Finder, I'm able to get confirmation that, okay, this is a trade setup that I want to take. And then the technicals, I look for my setup, which again is usually breaks and retests to fibs and support and resistance. Very simple stuff that you can see over and over again on my channel. And you know, we use it over and over because it tends to work. It's something that I've done for a long time, and this is going to be my, this will be my 7th year, which is kind of crazy to say, 7th year trading. And for the last 3 or 4 years, I've been doing the same concepts over and over and over. Nothing magical, just simple trend following and combining it, not just with the technicals, but with the fundamentals and the sentiment analysis that we do. So I like GJ on the short side, looks pretty good to me. If we take a look at the watch list here again, anything on the long side, USD CAD is up there pretty strong. So let's go take a quick look at USD CAD. And here's an example of one that I don't love. So even though the Edge Finder has a bias to the upside, that doesn't necessarily mean that the technicals are all looking good for a trade. I would like to see USD CAD break through the highs before I really get interested in going long. So if we were to break through the highs here and this were to become support, then you have something different. But right now what we see here is we just see choppiness towards the end of last year. So not too interested in taking any trades there, but open to the idea of breakouts, retests, etc. Of course, we could go through the entire watch list here and it would take us a long time. So we're not going to do that today. But of course, I will continue to be taking these trades. If I share any of them, they'll be inside of our Discord channel. You can actually bundle both things if you do want access to both. You can get access to the VIP group and to the Edge Finder. Both of them are linked down below in the description. Thank you guys very much for tuning in to today's video. If this was helpful to you, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and we'll see you back next time.